Hey everybody, and thanks to everyone who's been subscribing to this channel. I'm picking up a lot of subscribers. I enjoy making these things. A lot of them are things that I've been meaning to kind of get down in a video format for a long time, and today's lesson is really one of those. When I start teaching people to play jazz, we play an F blues with an F minor pentatonic scale and no other notes than that. It actually sounds better than you might think even when we get to the C7, because I want people to kind of get where they can forget about the notes a little bit and we just focus in on where they're putting the notes in time. That's, to me, is the main reason that Miles Davis is up there at the very pinnacle of jazz players, because he was so great with where he put things in time. I like to say kind of that most of us seem like we're kind of born on the beat or in front of the beat. I think there's like a little bit of apprehension when we're improvising, and there's some little primeval instinct in our amygdala that says, this is uncomfortable, I want it to be over with, and if I rush, it'll be over with 0.2 of a second earlier. But the master jazz players are always behind the beat. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to play a couple choruses on Autumn Leaves. I'm going to try to lay it in there. You know, this is not a real piano. It's an unweighted keyboard, but I'm going to try to lay it in there so that it's swinging pretty good. And we're going to then put it on a grid with the actual metronomic time in there and see where my notes fall relative to the actual metronomic time. Typically, it's way behind the metronomic time. And when we're playing jazz, the metronomic time, which maybe nobody's even playing that, is something that we work against. It's not something that we're meant to rigidly conform to. And one of the experiments we're going to do after I do some playing, we're going to experiment a little bit with sliding me forward and backwards so you can hear the difference between playing in front of the beat and playing behind the beat. This is one of two lessons I'm going to do on this. The other one has to do with our basic articulation of the notes, and that is very much tied in with this, and that will be the lesson for next week. Let's play a little bit and put it on the grid, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here I've got this solo. I'm going to take a 6 or 8 bar section of it where I'm mostly playing eighth notes because I think the picture will be clearest if we do it that way. And so what I'm going to use is this little chunk of this from like the second 8 bars or something like that. And you can watch it go by on the screen here, but I'm going to slow it down and we're going to analyze it. So it's this section here. So just that little bit. Let's take a look here. What I've done, I've got the grid is down here on the bottom. These purple little blocks are perfectly quantized. So this one, for example, is on the beat. That is exactly a triplet, on the beat, a triplet, on the beat, a triplet, and so forth. So we can see where my notes are falling relative to actually what the time would be if everyone was playing to a metronome. Let's listen to this first little chunk. Okay, so here you can see this note is supposed to 2, 3, 4, da, 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 is supposed to fall right on the beat, but you can see that relative to the actual note, the block that's on the beat, it's pretty darn late. This one's late. This one, if it was exactly on time, it would be lined up with this purple block. This one is a little bit late. Probably, you know, I should have made it a little bit later. This one, since it's a da-da-da, it's a little early. This is, but the target note is late. This one is later than its block. This one is extremely late. If we listen where it is, that one right there should be on the downbeat, but this is where the downbeat is. You can see this one is quite late. This one is very late relative to its block. This one is super late. It's almost a 16th note late relative to exactly on time, which would be right there. The triplet there, the swung note is late. You can see the whole line is late. The downbeats are kind of later than the swung notes, but everything is well behind the beat. Let's move forward here. There's a good descending line. This one. So again, if we look at this, this one is supposed to be here. Oops. Let's undo that. This is where beat 2 is, and that's what this one is falling on. This one here is quite late relative to its, you know, hard 16th note. This one here is actually, I'm playing the downbeat there. I'm just playing it so late that it looks right, because this one is on the beat, but I'm playing it super late. So this is a look, like kind of a scientific look at how far behind the beat we should be if we're trying to swing it. Let's do an interesting experiment here. We're going to take this and I'm going to pull it forward so that it's kind of in the front of the beat, and see what you think about how this feels. It just makes everybody uncomfortable. It doesn't indicate mastery when you're in front of the beat. It indicates nervousness, and people don't listen to jazz to hear nervousness. They listen to jazz to hear super confidence at I think of it almost as a superhuman thing, that we can create music like this out of thin air. Here's what it sounds like, though. I'll go back to the front of the bar. Check out how uncomfortable this is when I pull the notes so they're in front of the beat. some of it was so far behind the beat to start with that it kind of sounds okay. But for the most part, that's uncomfortable feeling. So there's a look at how far behind things need to be. And there are ways of cultivating this. I'm going to do a lesson on what I call my ugly Hannon exercises. And they're called the ugly Hannon exercises because they're super ugly. What I'm trying to do when I play these is take the improvisation out of the question. I'm not having to think about the notes that I'm playing. And I'm just working on being way behind the beat and on the articulation that I'm going to talk about in the next lesson. This also applies if you're playing a funk groove, if you're playing on a Latin groove, if you're soloing on anything. This kind of applies. To me, generally in a rhythm section, the bass player provides the propulsion and everybody kind of lays back against him, or drummers put it in various places relative to the bass player's pulse. But that's the guy that keeps us from eventually just dragging ourselves down to where we're playing at 1 BPM. The rest of us are all, George Duke. I'm going to list something here where you could check out a great solo on a record called I Love the Blues, She Heard My Cry. There's a track called Sister Serene, and George plays a solo on that is so far behind the beat. But it's so great and so soulful. Herbie Hancock on Butterfly, Herbie Hancock on anything is a gold standard. Again, Ellis Marsalis. There's a great Ray Brown record called Solar Energy, Soular Energy, with the incredible Gene Harris on it, who's one of the swinginest piano players you may never have heard of. Any Wynton Kelly trio, or Wynton Kelly with Miles, or Wynton Kelly with Wes Montgomery, he was kind of the gold standard for me when I was trying to get where I had the same weight and importance on my notes. Watch for the next couple lessons because there's something tied into this, and then we'll get into the ugly Hannons. And until then, smash that subscribe button and hit the alert, and I'll see you for the next lesson.
Let's play another. Yeah. That was a good one.